All right, so this is just an update on the $1,200 E90 project. We bought a can of worms, and this is how it's going so far. So, first of all, exterior-wise, it's in really good exterior condition. I mean, the paint is like, it's not perfect, but I mean, it's really good based on the previous owner. The only problem I found is there's this little bit of clear coat. And then also on the door handle, there's just some scuffing or whatever, which, you know, it's not that big of a deal. But other than that, I mean, the paint's actually in surprisingly good condition, like I said, based on the last owner. The wheels that are on here, honestly, I don't know what wheels these are. The lug bolts are kind of nasty. But, yeah, the wheels are okay. It could use probably a spacer here. Ooh, I haven't seen this before. Huh. Well, maybe the paint's not in as good condition as I thought. But I mean, generally speaking, from the outside, it looks really, really good. And the aftermarket headlights, this is an 07, so it came with the halogen headlights. These are aftermarket LED headlights. They look really, really good. The fitment is not perfect. Like, I can get my finger in there, which is not ideal. But with the hood closed and everything, it looks pretty good. This side has like a hole in there. So, I mean, the fitment's not perfect, but, you know, it doesn't matter that much. It looks okay. It's definitely a good 10-footer, and it's not a bad 5-footer, but it's not a show car by any means. But for $1,200, you can't really complain. Interior-wise, I mean, the interior is, I would say, perfect, except for one little thing. That would be this bad boy right here. As you can see, we didn't ask the previous owner about this, because we didn't really care. You know, it's just $1,200 car. We just want to get it running and see what we're going to do with it. But it won't focus. But as you can see, that's a well-smoked cigarette butt, Marlboro. Wonder what kind of Marlboros he smokes. But yeah, so there's some cigarettes in here. And the first thing I checked when I was looking through the interior was in here. I checked this ashtray, and immediately I was greeted with, it's hard to get this out with one hand actually, but immediately I found some ashes in there. And then under here, there's just a bunch of tobacco in there, you know, unburnt tobacco and maybe some ashes. And then, of course, your cigarette lighter. So the guy was a smoker. It's not that big of a deal. He only owned the car for like, I don't know, probably 10,000 miles or so. So, it's not a huge deal, but whatever. Other than that, there's a little bit of a smoke smell, but it's more musty than anything because he hasn't driven the car in a long time. So it's just kind of like an old musty, like if you've ever been in like a house that used to be smoked in, you know what I'm talking about. It's just kind of like, it's not like fresh cigarette smoke. It's just kind of musty, which also the stock floor mats are gone, which is, I mean, it's whatever. I mean, these are weather tacked, so it's fine, I guess. I don't know. I prefer the stock floor mats, but you know, it's probably better that there's less carpet in here when you're smoking. So there's less stuff to absorb the smell. I don't know. But yeah, interior-wise, everything is in really, really good condition. There's nothing broken. The cup holders still work. There's almost no wear on the back seats. There's really no creasing or anything like that. Let me show you. Cup holders, for all of you that own E90s or E92s, you know that these cup holders can be problematic, so these work just fine. I think this one has like some soda spilled in it or something because it's really slow, but nothing some cleaning can't fix. So yeah, the interior is in really good condition. The seat warmers work, the blower motor works, all the electronics work in there, so that's nice. So from a mechanical perspective now, we just got an order from FCP Euro, and in here we have a water pump kit. I believe that's this big box. We have a crankshaft position sensor, the thermostat, these are Delphi coils, and then laser iridium spark plugs. I was going to just buy some OEM Bosch triple fire spark plugs, but because we found out this thing has a JB4 on it already, well, we thought we might as well just put on some laser iridiums, because those are tried and true. I've ran those in my car for a while now, and they're really good. We actually got 2 crankshaft position sensors from FCP Euro, because either I accidentally ordered 2 or they sent us 2 by accident. It was kind of a weird thing. I placed the order, and then it said that we ordered 2. And I thought that was weird, so I called them literally like 5 or 10 minutes after we placed the order. And they were like, well, we already packed it up and have it ready to be shipped. So I was just like, what? 10 minutes after I placed the order, you already have it ready to be shipped? So, I mean, that's fine. FCP Euro's got good customer service, and I don't think they're lying about that. And they immediately sent us a return label to return the other one with. So, I mean, it's all good. So, yeah, we have the intake manifold out, the charge pipe out. It already came with a good charge pipe and a tile, blow-off valve. Whoopsie. Yep. So that's good. The intake manifold is fine, if not a bit oily, but it's okay. The thing was running like crap when we first got it. It was running on like, the first thing I said when I heard it start, I was like, this thing's running on like 4 cylinders or something. Turns out I was wrong, actually, and it was running on 5 cylinders, because cylinder 6 was simply not working. The coil was not firing. I took the coil and spark plug out of cylinder 6 because I kept getting a cylinder 6 misfire every time I start the car. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And so I just happened to have a set of working N54 coils in my trunk of my other car. These came from my other N54. They're fine. They're just, they got, I don't know, probably 30,000, 40,000 miles on them or something. But I know that they worked. And so I was like, okay, I'll put those in this thing and see what happens. And lo and behold, it started up and ran just fine. But like I said before, I wish I would have taken a picture of that cylinder 6 spark plug. It looked disgusting. I thought there was maybe something just really wrong with the motor, but it turns out cylinder 6 was simply not firing. I put in that used coil that was functioning, and it turns out that the motor runs just fine. The wastegates do have a bit of rattle, but I think that might be due to a vacuum leak, but I'm not ruling out the possibility that the turbos could just be really worn, because it already has a JB4 installed, and I'm guessing one of the owners before the last guy, because the last guy didn't know anything about cars, or really just had no interest in going fast or anything like that from what I could tell. One of the owners just romped on it, I guess, and they had, the basics. They had the charge pipe and the blow-off valve and the JB4. They might have even all bought it in a kit or whatever, and they just put those things on there and ran it till it had some kind of problem, I guess. So I'm not ruling out the possibility that the turbos could be worn and the wastegates could be worn, and that's why it's rattling. But with the fact that this thing just sat all winter and had no maintenance for the past few years, it could probably be a bad vacuum line as well. So yeah, pretty much just the water pump, the battery, the crankshaft position sensor, and then I guess just, oil change, spark plugs, basic maintenance, coils, stuff like that. And the car should be running just fine, aside from the fact that the high-pressure fuel pump is spitting out oil everywhere. I logged the high-pressure fuel pump on startup and while I was driving and stuff like that with the MHD monitoring module. And everything seems to be fine with the actual function of the high-pressure fuel pump from what I could tell. It peaked at 2,700 PSI when it was starting up, which is perfect, and it was everywhere it needed to be when it was driving. So the high-pressure fuel pump could actually be fine. And it could just be that it's just spitting out oil, as you can just see in there. It could just be spitting out oil because of the O-ring. The high pressure fuel pump is driven actually by the timing chain, and which is, you know, covered in oil. And so there's, well, it's soaking in oil. So there's an O-ring in the high pressure fuel pump that prevents oil from coming out. And so that O-ring or something in that entire setup there could be shot, and oil could be coming out of there. And I think that might be where all of this oil that's just all over in this on the cold side of the engine could be coming from that high pressure fuel pump, or who knows. I mean, that's probably the most likely culprit because it seems like that's the source, or it could be the crankcase ventilation or something like that, but not entirely sure. But those are the parts it needs, looks like, to run and drive. And then after we, you know, flush the coolant, change the oil, new coils, new spark plugs, new water pump, new battery, and new crankshaft sensor. And once we tidy it up and give it some tender love and care after that, we'll see how much oil is actually leaking, where it's leaking from, and then we'll go from there, and we'll see, you know, and that's assuming that everything operates well. So yeah, that is an update on the $1,200 Project E90.